Why imagination? Imagination is critical to manifesting your definite chief aim. And as I began to research a little bit about imagination, I discovered that there are actually 8 types of imagination. So I want to cover those today. The first one is effectuative imagination. And this is where you're creating something new from something that already exists. And the best example that I can give you of that is like there's a trash can and someone invented the trash bag that goes inside of the can. So this is something that already exists. It's across all of human history. This is something that happens all the time. You see something and you find a little bit of a way that you can make it better by another idea. You come up with something. The second type is intellectual imagination. And this is when you're able to work from an existing plan or a definite idea, and it's guided towards some distinct purpose. Okay? So intellectual imagination is something that is very conscious, and it's a deliberate process. So it's something that you sit down and go, okay, look, here's where we are. This is what our plan is. We know we need to get here, but we've hit a roadblock, and now we need to apply some intellectual imagination and come up with an idea to move around the obstacle. So that's intellectual imagination. The third is imaginative fantasy. And this is when you're able to generate new ideas from scratch. And it's something that can be guided or unguided. This is what most writers and artists are really good at. Just being able to sit down and with no thought, no previous idea, just come up with something. The fourth one is empathy. And this is the capacity that if you have the ability to mentally detach from yourself and experience what someone else is experiencing from their point of view, it allows you to take that imaginative stroll into someone else's shoes. So again, a lot of writers use this type of imagination. They come up with the character, and then in order to write the story, they've got to imagine being that character. An actor, that's another good example of empathy imagination. The next one is strategic imagination. And this is primarily concerned with what could be, what if. It's the ability to spot opportunities and visualize what might happen if you were to take them. So people that are really good at strategic imagination have a realistic understanding of their own skills, and they're able to spot opportunities that they can then go out and develop. This is sometimes called wisdom. Interesting. The next one is emotional imagination. And this is a little bit trickier to define, but it's concerned with manifesting emotional dispositions and then extending them into scenarios. So we need imagination to fuel our emotional state. And we need to imagine the monsters to feel the fear. Imagine the scenarios playing out in our lives to make us feel anxious. So it's when you use the emotion of something that sparks the imagination that you begin to wonder, like, oh my gosh, it's dark at night. I heard a noise. Is something in the closet? And then you begin to imagine that scenario. That's emotional imagination. And then the actual sixth one is about dreams. And dreams are an unconscious form of imagination. And of course, we do it when we're asleep, so we're not in control of it. Those of us that dream, it can be kind of fun, it can be scary, but it's definitely a way to access your imagination. So as your unconscious mind usually will deal with some of your conscious problems while you sleep. And you may actually find answers to some of your problems when you wake up in the morning if you take the time to wake up slowly, think about what your dreams were, and write them down before you actually jump out of bed. I know that I have found that when I jump out of bed and immediately start about my routine, I've completely lost it. So it's a good practice to do. If you can get into the habit of doing that, you can find a lot of ideas and a lot of answers from your dreams. The last one is called memory reconstruction. And this is interesting because we all do this as well. But it's when we retrieve memories. So, you start thinking back into your mind about people or objects or events in your life, and you actually use your imagination to regenerate the images. So memories are subconscious, stored pieces of information, and then our conscious brain actually drags them into our consciousness, and our imagination then kind of fills in the gaps, where the memory hasn't been curated properly, and we have a little bit of a free license there. But that is called memory reconstruction imagination. The next thing that I would strongly recommend that everybody do is get into the habit of taking just a few minutes. Daily would be nice, weekly if not, but closing your eyes and just take 3 minutes. Close your eyes, focus on your breathing, focus on the sounds that you hear, and kind of just be. And after 3 minutes, wake up, open your eyes, and then start writing thoughts that come to your mind. No judgment. Don't say, oh, I shouldn't be thinking about that. Even if it's like, oh, don't forget to get milk. I need to stop and pick up the dry cleaning. Whatever it is, just start writing and spend a minimum of 5 minutes just writing stuff down. And it's interesting what will surface. I just recently did this today, as a matter of fact. And what came to my mind was that this should be done more frequently. And that when we do this, you actually can tap into some intuition. I think a lot of times people are so resistant to change because it hits them smack dab between the eyes and they weren't prepared for it. And the reason why they weren't prepared for it is because they're on that rat wheel and you're just going. You get home, you do everything you do at get home, then you get ready for bed, you go to bed, you wake up, you get on the wheel again, and you go. You let your calendar, you let your day, everything controls you, and you're just literally drugged from week to week. And if you can sit down and take the time to just think about things and just be in the moment and begin to think about what if scenarios, maybe use a little bit of that strategic imagination. What are some potential opportunities? What can I visualize that the future might be like? And by using that and doing that, you may just be able to stay ahead of the curve. And you may be able to recognize when things are going to change or when you need to change them before someone changes them for you. So in conclusion on imagination, just to remember that imagination is the engine that drives creativity. And imagining is key to our existence. If we didn't have imagination, we wouldn't be able to function emotionally. Our memories wouldn't work. We'd lack the capacity to travel forwards and backwards in time through the imagination. The strength of our imagination may be, just may be, what makes us unique as a species.